Welcome to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
Hi, everybody. I'm spiritual medium Kellee White, and welcome to Ask Me Anything. And tonight I have a really special guest on. So I'm so excited, but we're going to bring her on after I do the astrology and after I ask a few questions here, because I want to know. First of all, let me say hi to everybody. Hi, Muriel. Oh, yes, Prajna is going to be, can't wait to have her. She's on tonight. It's going to be great. Hi, Kim-Ann. Hi, Sue. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Tom. Hi, Sarah. Let's see. Hi, Marge. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Susan. Hi, Gayla. Hi, Lisa G. Hi, Ann Margaret. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Kellee, does your husband know the Tedeschi Trucks band? I don't know. Honey, do you know the Tedeschi Trucks band? I don't know. I'll see if I'll get an answer to that. Hi, Christian. Hi, Lori Counts. I was very sad, too, to see Christine McVie pass away suddenly from Fleetwood Mac yesterday. So I know you had left me a note on that, and I was sorry about that too. Hi, Holly Mays. How are you? Hi, Patricia. Hi, Lee. Hi, Regina from the Hudson Valley. Great. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Tracy. Oh, Tracy, I'm so glad to see you too. Hi, Linda. So I could just keep going on. Hi, Carissa. Hi, everybody. So I am curious. Has anybody seen White Lotus? I just want to know. Has anybody seen White Lotus season 2? Wow. I don't know. I just can't get it off my mind. I just think it's, wow. It's pretty, it's something. If anybody, I'd be curious to know if anybody else is watching this. And I want to talk about, before I get to the astrology, a really good documentary that I think everybody should watch. It's called Stutz, S-T-U-T-Z. And it's about Phil Stutz. And it's done by Jonah Hill. And Phil Stutz is a psychiatrist, actually, and psychotherapist who practices in Los Angeles. And I'll just mention it like this. My mom and my stepdad actually were patients of Phil's, and my mother was a psychologist. And so the answer to the question is, do shrinks see other shrinks? Yes, of course they do, because we all carry a lot of stuff. So yes, absolutely. Therapists seek out other therapists that are good, but Phil was particularly good. And my mother just loved Phil. She thought he was so bright, and she reminded him a lot of her. And if you get a chance to see this, it's a very great documentary that Jonah Hill does. And it's so vulnerable and it's so transparent. And you might want to take it in pieces, like 20 minutes, and then kind of digest it, and then like another 20 minutes and digest it. But you see the growth of both Jonah and Phil. And it's just, I just thought it was incredible, and I'll see it again. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you watch it. It's on HBO. No, it's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. There you go. But White Lotus is on HBO. And I don't have any clients in it. It's just something else, that White Lotus. Can't get that out of my head. But anyway, let's talk about the astrology, and then we'll bring Prajna on. So December is a month to remember, because it's going to have, like, we're in a place right now with the energy. The energy right now is where, and I talk about this in my if you go to my blog, you'll find it. It's the next few days are very calming. Like maybe the next 3 days would be very calming in the world. It's a really kind of a unique aspect that we have that we don't ever really have that often. And it's, let me find it here because it's kind of cool. I can find it here. And where did I put it? Hold on just a second here. Okay, no, I didn't. I had it and then I didn't have it. Hold on just one more time. Hold on a second. Okay, so for some reason it's not letting me pull it up, and I don't know why. But it's a period of time where Mercury, I'm sorry, no, it is Mercury. Mercury and, no, let me see. Take that back. I'm just going to stick with this part. For the next 4 days, it's a very calming time period. And when we get to, and this is the part I wanted to talk about, when we get to about December 3rd, in a couple of days, Mercury transits into Sagittarius. And before Mercury transits into the sign of Sagittarius, Mercury travels through what I always call it's called the Gandanta zone, and it's a really sensitive point when this happens. So from about the 3rd to about the 8th of December, it could be a little more intense because it's a sensitive point. It's where Mercury will go in from a water sign, Scorpio, into a fire sign, Sagittarius, and it's called the Gandanta zone. And that is, it's also referred to as like a karmic knot. And it's when a planet transits over it, it can cause some intensity. So what you want to do during this period of time is you want to keep things like as simple as possible in your relationships and in your communication, because things from the past can surface up during this time. And if it does surface up during this time, it would be for healing frankly. And also just be very careful and mindful about how you communicate. And I'm talking about from about December 3rd to about December 8th, because it's a very intense time. And on top of that, additionally, we also have on December 7th, a full moon in Taurus. And this is going to be a very intense full moon because it brings a lot of passion to the planet. It brings intense energy to the planet, and it can trigger a lot of people during that day. That's December 7th. And again, so I'm going to say maybe from the 3rd or even the 4th of December till about the 8th of December, really be mindful of how you are with one another and how you are in the world, because it's going to be, I think might be an intense time during that time. But the next couple of days should be pretty peaceful. And then on Monday with James, I'll do a little more of the December astrology. And you can see on my blog, if you go to kellewhite.com, you'll find the rest of the astrology on my blog. Anyway, in the meantime, let's bring in Prajna Avalon. Prajna.
Hi, everybody, and Kellee.
I'm so glad you're here. Oh my God, I know so many people are so glad to see you.
I'm so glad to be here with everybody. Oh my gosh. I feel like this is my first stepping back out into the world.
And it is. It really is let's tell everybody, kind of briefly what happened to you.
So the short version is I went to have surgery for a plantar wart.
And this was on August 30th. And I remember it well because I was going in for my second surgery on August 30th.
On August 30th, exactly. And it was a very small plantar wart, but we had tried removing it before. It's a common practice. And because I'm a runner, the roots were really deep. So the doctor had suggested, let's go into the operating room and we'll put you under because we got to cut a little deep. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I had them before. It's a viral wart. So I had one 10 years ago, which needed a similar approach. So I go into the doctors and go into the operating room to get the wart out. And when I wake up from anesthesia, the doctor shows me a picture of what she and her husband had done to my foot. And that had taken this much out of the ball of my left foot. So they took 2/3 out of the ball of my left foot. And they took all of the layers of the skin and the fat and everything. They even took a part of the muscle. So,
oh my God.
Well, that's what happened. So it was a very, I knew my life had changed at that moment. Yeah. I was an interpreter, a medical interpreter at a hospital for many years. So I have a very solid foundation of medical knowledge, and I knew things were not good. So they sent me home with no care. And in the next 2 weeks, I got a very bad infection and got necrosis of the foot. And I went into the emergency department and they said, well, you're either about to lose your foot or to have sepsis and die. So it's good that you're here. So that day, the plastic surgeon came to talk to me, and he said, "Well, this is an atrocity. We've never seen anything like this before, and there are ways to save your foot, but you're going to be in the hospital between 1 and 3 months. You're going to have an average of 2 surgeries a week, and we're going to have to use the latest technology because otherwise you'll never walk normally."
So
again.
let's take this apart for a minute. What was your thought as you get this diagnosis? Like, remember, everybody, she's a healer. And so, and healers, we all have situations. We're human having situations. And this was such a deep one. What was your thought as you were going into with this news?
It was, well, my first thought was actually positive because it was a very renowned plastic surgeon team that was covering at that hospital for that week only. So I was extremely lucky to fall under their care. And he told me, "Oh, we're going to do, laser, and there's a 3D printer that's going to print your own skin, and there's all these things." So I felt very lucky for that. And I was really happy with him there. And then he leaves the room, and like it was like the world just like fell on me, and I thought my life just changed forever. And I mean, I went into the hospital with the clothes on, off my body, what I was wearing, and I never left. And for the 6 weeks, I was hospitalized for 6 weeks, and I was bedridden for 6 weeks. So I went, I have a very good capacity for acceptance. So I freak out and I can fall into acceptance quite quickly. I mean, I've done work on myself since my teenage years. So it's been 30 years, but it all goes like this because there's reality, right? There's a reality that I may never walk again. I may never run again. I'm a triathlete, right? I may never bike again. I may never run.
In fact, you had just completed a triathlete, Avalon.
I had just completed a triathlon 3 days before the surgery. I had just run a half marathon. I was getting ready for a triathlon and a marathon. So I was like, fully engaged in life. And I was going to the US the week after. I was going to see my dog. I was going to go to LA to visit a friend. I was like, Kellee, you might there was a chance we were going to meet there. I mean,
we had all kinds of plans, everybody.
We had all kinds of
plans. In fact, several times as I was still in the hospital, you would call me or I would call you.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I have to go because the machines are going off and the nurses are coming in and the doctor's here. And then you'd say to me, I have to go. The machines are going off. And it seemed surreal that we were going through this at the same time.
It is surreal. And I have no idea why it happened, but it is not. I mean, we are as deeply connected as people can be. And I know it's no coincidence that we were going through that at the same time for a few weeks.
Well, and if we think about it, when you say that, I got chills. I have to think that healers are going inward and deep right now because we're going to be so needed. We have always been needed, but needed more. But I think it was for me, it was the going inward for weeks and weeks and weeks, 3 months, actually. 3 months. Yeah. I mean, literally where I couldn't do anything, but really just rest and take care of myself. And I think with you, it's been the same thing. Not being able to move. It's been the same thing.
It's been 3 months for me now. Actually, I think today or yesterday was 3 months, and I'm still on crutches. I still can't put my foot down. We still don't know if I'll walk normally. We still don't know if I'll be able to do sports again. We don't know anything.
And so, would you say that you're in the middle of this journey?
I would say so. Even though all of my surgeries, I had 13 surgeries in 6 weeks. I think they're done. But there are levels. So like my hospital time, it was such a survival mode for me. Like I would, be having dinner one night and the nurse would say and be like, well, you start fasting at midnight because you have surgery tomorrow morning. Like I had no warning. There were 2 weeks where I had surgery Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's like general anesthesia, medicine. That's the coldness of it. I mean, it's a lot to go through. So it was a lot of a survival, and I was, bedridden because I had this vacuum machine attached to my foot because I had almost died from infection. So it was sterile the entire time. They would just take the machine out in the operating room and put it back on and wrap the entire thing. So I couldn't even walk on crutches there. I couldn't. So I was lying on a bed for 6 weeks. Even to go to the bathroom, I had to press the button and call somebody to take me on a wheelchair. So it's really just like you have to let go of everything, and you have to accept your new reality, because that is your new reality. And you don't have a choice. A lot of the times in our new realities, we have choices. I mean, I guess I could have chosen to just leave the hospital, but I would have lost my foot.
You lost your foot, or you could have died.
Exactly. But so within reason, I didn't have a choice. Yeah. So, in your body, it starts, I went from a very active, very in shape triathlete that was training every day because I loved, with my community and my social circle and everything, to bedridden, no muscle tone, no exercise, needing to do breathing exercises because my lungs had phlegm, having to take, anticoagulant shots on my stomach or my thighs every night so that I wouldn't have blood clots because I had an open wound, and it increases your chances of blood clots. And I think it's like 30% or something like that. Yeah. And, I went from a fully active body to bed rest. So my body freaked out. So I was sharing with Kellee and with Renee, our producer, like even my bowels didn't work, because it's not like a person that's sedentary. Like I was fully active, and then I was in bed. So my bowels wouldn't work for 6 weeks. So I had to receive enemas every single morning so I could go to the bathroom, from somebody else. I mean,
you really had to be vulnerable. You had no choice.
I had no choice. Not only I had no choice, I needed people. I needed them to, give me medicine. I needed them to take care of my wound. I needed them to take care of my skin. I needed them to take me to the bathroom and hold the shower handle while I bathed. I mean, sometimes I'm 44, I still have my periods. Sometimes I would have my periods, and I'm bedridden. And so it truly was as vulnerable, I think, as one can kind of get, other than, I don't know, being intubated or something like that. It's very, 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 very vulnerable with everything.
How did you manage to keep your sanity?
Well, I think I tried to really accept the situation. I think it was number one for me. I didn't do it perfect all the time because my friends' lives kept going. Everybody's lives kept going.
Which was really hard for you, because you're listening to your friends go out and they're doing this and they're doing that.
Yeah, they're coming to visit and they're like, oh, we swam, 2,000 meters today, and we ran and then we biked. And I'm like, oh my God, like I want to do that. Or my partner would come in and she's like, oh, tomorrow I'm not coming because I'm going biking. I'm seeing my cousin. I'm like, what? You got to be here. Like, so it's very hard. But you gotta, Kellee, you're talking about coming inward.
Yes.
The only choice I really had for sanity was when I came inward, because when I was outward, my physical health was questionable, was falling apart slowly. My body was declining. I was in antibiotics IV for 5 weeks.
And I need to tell everybody, I mean, you've been vegan your whole life. You're vegan, you run, you've taken, you don't drink alcohol, you never smoked, you don't do any of that. I mean, you would be like the specimen of health.
I was, yes. I mean, I haven't had sugar in I don't know how many years, or gluten. I I do IV treatments for vitamins. For
I have to tell
vitamin.
you, I was really worried about your food, what you were going to eat, because as a
Yeah.
vegan, and I had just been in the hospital, and the food was just awful. And thank you, Don, for bringing me food. But they actually, when you told them you were vegan, they actually made you these amazing vegan meals.
Well, there were amazing things that happened
Yeah.
along the way that kind of saved the day, So when I got there, the first meal they brought me was a soy burger, which was like cardboard, mashed potatoes, and rice. And I looked at that and I'm like, oh my
A
God.
bowl of nutrition.
Super. So I called the nutritionist and I said, listen, what is the nutritional value in this? And so this was at like 10 p.m. or something. I was still in the emergency room. The nutritionist comes to talk to me the next morning, and she says, "Oh, so you're a vegan?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she says, "Oh, but so and what kind of do you do cheese and milk?" And I'm like, I'm a vegan. And so they didn't even know what a vegan was, and there was nothing for me to eat. So what transpired was, because I was going to be living there for possibly 3 months. People don't live in hospitals usually. They stay for 1 or 2 weeks at the most, right? So they started working with me, and the first thing they brought one day was it was zucchini stuffed with tofu and tomatoes and garlic and like this amazing soup. And I was like, wow. So then they got really excited and started bringing vegan books. So I had a whole menu, and it was really wonderful, because the chief of the nutritionist, she came to talk to me and she said, the hospital has been open for 23 years and we've never bothered with this. And she said, because of you, now every vegan that ever comes will have a menu. And a couple of weeks before I left, she walked in and she said, we had a vegan here for one day and we brought him the menu and he couldn't believe it. And I actually teared up because I was like, yes.
Well, think of the change you would have done for the hospital.
Yeah, it's like a change that will stay forever, So there were
moments. There were some moments there. And then you had a very special, unique surgery with a doctor that developed something, and you were the first patient, I think, to have this surgery.
Yeah, the last surgery that I had was a skin graft. So they were going to take the options were to take a skin graft from my body, but like our soft skin, they usually take it from your thigh. It's too thin for the bottom of a foot, because the skin in our foot and the skin in our hands are very thick. Or the other option was to take a graft from the bottom of the other foot to put on this foot. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So they had this technology that had just come to Brazil. It exists other places in the US and Europe for 4 to 5 years, but it had just arrived a month and a half, which is it's called a 3D bio printer. So it's a 3D printer. So they take fat from your body. So from mine, they did a liposuction on my belly and took fat from there. They put it into this machine and they scan your wound, and it goes into the machine and it prints a skin with the margins of your wound and the depth and the change in depth, and they just placed it on my foot. And it had never been done on a foot before, apparently, anywhere, because they didn't have anything to compare it with. So I guess that's what I was told, that I'm the first person that they ever use a 3D bioprinter on a foot. I mean, the day of this surgery, the people in the operating room knew me. So I got there, they're like, "Hey, Prajna." I'm like, "Hey." So I would go through the operating room, like waving at different people, because I was there so often. And then I got into the operating room and there were people. So there were the team from the 3D printer. There was the creator of the 3D printer from South Korea. Wow. That was here, that was in South America and decided to fly for my surgery. There were medical residents, there were students, so it was like, I joked around, I was like, wow, I should start handing out autographs, because everybody was excited, taking pictures of everything. So it was a really big deal. It's still a big deal. They take pictures of my foot every week. I go and they open and close it because it's going into the medical universities, into medical schools all over the place.
Do you think then perhaps one of the many reasons, if we could look at reasons this could have happened, I mean, not that we'll ever get it all because probably we're not supposed to, but on some level could be one of the 1,000 reasons is you have to have everybody else have this experience.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. One of our dear friends, Walter, he brought that up.
Oh, really?
Me. Yes, you're the only two people that have brought this up so far. Yes, and he said, maybe you're going through this because somebody needed to go. There's got to be a first person that goes through something in the world, and one of the things that healers do is you oftentimes you go through something so that you can, because when you're healing, you use, when I'm doing a healing, I use my whole entire energy field as a template for the client. So the client's field feels the healed energy field that I'm carrying, and it helps them heal. It's called harmonic induction. It's one of the techniques. So somebody had to go through. So, one of the possibilities is that, at this point, my energy field has the experience of, long hospital stays, many surgeries, a groundbreaking surgery worldwide, and all of this. So it goes not only to my clients or who I work with, but it into the morphogenic field of the world. It goes into the world. I mean, many people have this we all have this job to different levels, and this is one that healers do, especially people that work with medical healing, which has always kind of been one of my, it's how I started, was medical healing. So it could be, Kellee. I think it could be.
I mean, absolutely, that's would be one of many things. But also, as a healer, when you have something like this, I've always felt that, we all have different mountains to climb, different things that we have to do. We have to get to the next level and get to the next level. And I feel, it was your foot. It wasn't your arm. It was your foot.
Yeah.
And your foot is the way in the world. It's how you get around the world. This literally prevented you from getting anywhere, from moving anywhere, from doing anything. So to me, it was your soul would have chosen a huge experience to stop you. And to make you go, stop the urge. Well, the urge was always there because I know you always wanted to get up and go and get up and go. But but I would think this would have been and will be continue to be a time to go inward.
I think you're right. It wasn't lost on me too. That was my foot. I mean, I'm a Sagittarius, right, on Vedic, and I've always moved. I've always been very free, and I've always felt like I belong to the world. It's part of. Well,
that's the 5 of Spades too. You're in January. You're 5 of Spades. 5 of Spades are the travelers. They're the wanderers. They're the healers. They're the ones that have to go. But in order for, I believe, for a healer or a therapist or anybody who's spiritualist, you have to get to that next level. You never know how the next level is going to appear in your road. I would have never guessed that, having a breast reduction was going to shift my life totally. I mean, I thought physically it would, but I did not know the rest of it. I didn't know that I'd be in the hospital. I didn't know, for all of this. And at the same time, you were going through your thing. I still can't get over that. I cannot get over that. It was like there was a run on healers, but I think what it did for me is it really, because I had no choice but to go inward and rest, it really changed my mediumship. It changed my the way I feel, the way I think, the way the messages come in now. It really does. It really altered it in a good way. Just it gave me more patience, I think.
Oh, that's
more
incredible.
Tolerance, more patience, more just brought me to a deeper place. And I would think with you too. And I think with you too. I mean, are you even able to see people now?
I'm seeing people. I've seen people throughout, but very little. Okay. My energy is still I see as many people as I feel comfortable seeing, because I'm still in the middle of it, right? I'm still on
Right.
crutches. I'm still not able to walk. It takes a lot of effort for me to do anything. I'm still basically stuck at home unless somebody, comes or takes me somewhere. So my life is still kind of taken away from me. I'm still mourning the loss of that, adjusting to what's here now. And there are times I'm still upset, you know, and certain people not showing up more, so there are my own expectations,
Right.
that I'm learning how to be with.
What
And my
if you had no expectations of how anybody should be around you?
Well, I think that would have been peaceful, right?
Exactly.
That would have been very peaceful, and
Uh-huh.
and then anything that I would receive, I would just be grateful for. Which is, I was always grateful for, but it shows, we're there's always more to learn, and I think this is a very important thing, because a lot of healers, especially, I've seen that they never wanted to say that they were sick or they were struggling or this or that, because they feel like they have to have it all together all the time. And I never understood that, because then it means that you're enlightened. And if you're enlightened, what are you
Right.
doing here?
Right.
Right?
Right.
We're all on a journey. And
It's the same way, by the way, with therapists. And
with
that's why I
is
gave
it
that example of the documentary Stutz, that my mother, who was the therapist in Los Angeles, I mean, like the most renowned therapist
wow,
there, and that she seeked out somebody, because
exactly.
it's what we do. It's important that 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 you can get help when you need it. And
Yeah,
healers are human. We're just having a human
yeah,
experience. We may have some
absolutely.
knowledge that somebody else doesn't, but we're
Yeah.
still having the human experience.
Absolutely, that's exactly it. We're growing too. We grow through our work. We go through so much through our work, but we all have things to grow. Like for me, I had one. I won't go into this because it's another really too long story. But I had Lyme disease five years ago, and I actually died from Lyme disease and came back. So I had 2 years where I would crawl through the floors because I couldn't, do much. And I learned so much from that. It literally changed my life, especially because I had this near death experience and came back for a couple of years. I didn't even know who I was. I would look at people and I couldn't recognize people that had been in my life for 20 years. So, but I grew so much from that. And I see in my healing work, a lot of the times people in the world in general, they use illnesses as punishment, or they think they're being punished for not doing something right. Or people are depressed and they think they're being punished because they're not doing something right, or they're thinking it's a consequence of they're not doing something right. Well, yes, but just to the extent that we didn't know what to do better, So in my career as a healer, my work as a healer, I've always looked at illness as a call from within for growth. I've never looked at it as a negative thing. And I think, that's one of the things that helped me a lot. I never for one second thought, oh gosh, what have I done to deserve this? But never.
No, I never thought that for one
Right?
second. Never.
So, and it's not.
Never.
It's like, okay, what, like you said, like in the beginning, like what's the next step? What's the
Mhm.
next level? And for me, you're talking about going within. I've always gone within a lot. I've always been a very internal person. But I was sharing with you, like, for example, in India, when I was living with Amma, the guru, she always said, there's a deeper level of that. She always repeats, we are born alone and we die alone. And it does not alone in the sense of there's nobody else present, but it means we literally enter this body alone. There's nobody else
Mhm.
entering with us, and we leave alone. And she always says the only place for safety is inside. It's not in another person. It's not in money. It's not in our home. It's not in our children, our parents, our pets, our country. And we all use that, me included. So I feel that for me, this has been that kind of invitation. I do good with that sometimes. And I had times of pure despair in
I
this
remember.
year, right?
I remember.
I was just
I remember.
losing it because I felt the loneliest I had ever felt,
Yeah.
and nobody's there, and nobody's coming to see me, and the person that's intimate to my life is not showing up, and blah blah blah. And I would allow myself to go there, and I say allow because I know better, and then I would pull myself out of it. But it's still a lesson for me because I am still going through it. So apparently I am still to learn something.
So this is so Kim Ann Snodgrass. Hi Kim. She says, Kellee, at this time you had health issues. I did, and Prajna, and also Carolyn Mumolo. So Carolyn Mumolo is a wonderful psychic, a dear, dear, dear mother to James, actually, and she's this wonderful person. And at the same time, in fact, they called me after my first surgery, and Carolyn was in town, and she was so happy to be there. So the next day, I get a call, and she had fallen and broken her hip, and then ended up with COVID, and then in the hospital. She's from New York, but she stayed with James in the hospital for about 6 weeks. Wow. I mean, it was, and then your thing happened. So then I went back to the hospital, and poor James is like, what's going on? What's going on here? So, and then at the same time, my dear, mentor passed away, Mavis Patua. Yes, and it was really, really tough. And so, Kim Ann, I don't know why so many healers were hit at this time. Janet Novack died too, a wonderful medium. Yeah. I don't know, other than they didn't sign up for the next round. Like, again, I always go back to 2020. We had COVID and life changed. All right, the people that died suddenly that didn't make it to COVID didn't sign up for it. Yeah. And I would say maybe some of these healers, they were like, no, we're done now. We've done it. They were
done.
But I didn't feel it for me. I felt like I would have been pissed off if I had died.
Too.
I would have been so pissed.
Yeah.
And in every surgery, I was like, am I going to die? And it's like, no, Kellee, you're not going to die. And I mean, I remember thinking, like you and I would have these conversations, deep conversations about life and death. And then maybe that was part of it too, Prajna. It's like looking at life and death, how much time we have, what we want to do to accomplish it, how do we get there, go inward. I mean, you didn't have any choice, and you probably still have limited choice of of acceptance and going inward. And it's not an acceptance of defeat. Let's be clear about that. It's the opposite. It's you accept that this is currently my situation.
Yes.
Currently.
Yeah.
And what am I learning from it? And you may not know everything for a year or 2 years or 10 years, but you'll get it. And then there'll be that person that comes to you for help as a healer, and they will have either a similar situation or something that you'll draw from this experience with them. And then that is the healing, and it heals them and their generations of people. So you took one for the team in a big way, I think.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was told that by my guides when I was going through it. And I told you this story, and I'll say this quickly because I think it's important I think it might be important for everybody. It's like when I started working, I always knew I was going to be a healer. Since I was 5 years old, I knew I was going to be a healer.
Amazing.
And but I really started working as a healer when I was 21. And my mentor in Brazil, at that time, I was like young, 21, all cool and all that. And so I think, I don't know. But he pulled me aside and he said, you know what you're choosing, right? And I didn't get the question. And he said, no, I really mean it. Do you know what you're choosing? Because this is going to affect your life forever. And he pulled his shirt down, and he has all these scars because he's had cancer so many times in his throat and his chest. And he's had massive surgeries. He only doesn't have a scar this much in the back of his neck, but everything here and here, his arms. And he said to me, when you choose, especially to do physical healing like you're choosing, your body will receive a hit from it. And every so often, you're going to fall. And then you're going to rebuild yourself, and you're going to rebuild bigger because you have to go higher, but you're going to fall. And I remember really, I stopped and unconsciously I said, that's okay. Because, and I still feel like this, if I have to go, I mean, I've gone through Lyme disease and nearly died. I've always had medical stuff.
It's really interesting. On Monday's show, we had a couple that were wonderful, and they did a documentary called Love Heals. And if anybody hasn't seen it, Renee, will you make sure we have that link in my in my Facebook page or on the comments here, because was such a good thing. But was the backstory, or here's what happened. It was two women, Dana and Cassandra. And Dana, what happened is Dana, she pulled her calf muscle. All right, so she pulled her calf muscle, and she thought, well, it's horribly painful, and the pain went on, and the pain went on, and the pain went on. It was so bad that she ended up having 2 spinal surgeries that both went bad. That both went badly. And because of that, it put her on a path with her partner, who documented the whole thing, about love healing and about healing. And they ended up with looking at the pain was actually the beginning of their journey. If you think about it, it was, the pain opened up her life to everything, because she had been holding on to family trauma, family pain, family trauma, family pain, and what she had to go through. And then they discovered the ancient healing practices that you and I have known about. I mean, that's how I healed my traumatic brain injury, was through these ancient practices mine was called Sundo, Sundo, but Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, going inward. That's really where the healing is. And you, as a healer, you've always done this. I've done this for the last 20 years. You've done this too for your whole life. As a healer, you would be doing this. But going forward, I'm going to watch it, and I know that your healing's going to go deeper. I know it's going to go deeper.
I believe that too. I believe it's going deeper. And, I love that you just said love heals, because I say this all the time. Love heals everything.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out, most of us, we don't realize, but we're afraid of love.
A lot of people are.
Right?
Because then they'd have to connect. And if they connect, then there's a chance that there will be, again, you'll be vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, you risk being abandoned. I mean, it's the same thing.
Exactly. So a lot of the times we protect our hearts, and we say, no, you stay over there. I stay over here. Don't come close. I'm going to do this alone. Don't help me, because, I'm afraid. And Kellee, there isn't this documentary, I can't wait to watch it. There isn't a deeper healer than love. He heals everything, whether we understand it or not. For me, coming back to Brazil was a very hard thing for me. I never wanted to come back to Brazil.
And tell everybody you were born in Brazil.
I was born in Brazil. I had an extremely hard childhood in Brazil with a lot of horrible stuff. And I left here running when I was a teenager, and I came back to visit.
It's interesting that you use the term running. You left running, and then you moved back there, and then you can't run. So you can't run away from your problems. You can't run away from the family dysfunction that you'd have to work through. I mean,
and
clearly.
the country dysfunction. And
the country dysfunction.
It's a big thing for me. But in the hospital, it's a third world country. It's a mess. I mean, I won't even go into the details. But the care that I received here is indescribable. The level of love. And for me, it's healed so much of my relationship and my wounding that I had from not being protected or taken care of when I was a teenager and a child.
So then that's another reason why this experience in a hospital for weeks and weeks.
Weeks. I mean, they bathed me, they gave me medicine, they brought me food, they stopped to talk to me when I was sad, they everything. And so there's a lot of healing. There's a lot. My relationship with Brazil changed because of this 6 weeks stays in the hospital. And one other thing that before I mentioned it ties but not, but I'll just go into this is all of the people in the hospital, they would say to me, wow, you're dealing with this so well. Most people are in the hospital for a week and they're already having a nervous breakdown or they're freaking out. And I wasn't. It took me a while, and still they were very short. And people would come, like the cleaning people, the managers, everybody would come into my room throughout the day because they were like, this is so great. I'm sure it was the same in your room.
Oh, totally. They'd go, could I just talk to you? And I'm like, no.
Exactly.
Go away.
Oh no, I loved it. So I was like, everybody
Oh, you did?
just come
I was the
over,
opposite.
just stay here.
I had a nun that came in to talk to me, and I thought, oh, I'm a goner for sure.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, I didn't have a nun. But one thing that I want to stress is I have done 30 years of personal process work and healing work and therapy. I'm not saying this to put myself up or none of it. All I want to say is, if I hadn't, I would have lost my mind. People end up in psych hospitals because of going through something like I did.
Absolutely.
And I'm scarred.
And not only that, you had the mental capacity to hold on to it, to be strong and have your strength. You also had the physical capacity because you had
I had the physical
unbelievable fit person. I mean, that's how you were able to, I feel, to get through all of this.
I think so too.
And you've always been open about working on yourself. You've worked on yourself for forever.
I have.
And there's always more to do, everybody, just because you never just reach the place. It's not possible.
No, it's not possible. So I just really want to stress the importance of that, because it's important in the moment, but for me, gosh, was it important in those 6 weeks, 13 surgeries, people putting stuff inside my body all over the place. It was important. So it is the only thing, working in ourselves, working in our hearts, growing, evolving, having tools. It's truly the only thing we take with us throughout this life and beyond.
Great point, what you just said. We take our tools with us from this life and beyond, but you're absolutely right. The tools that you learned to survive.
Yeah.
And then I promise you'll get to a place of thriving on this. You'll thrive. You will be on the other side. I know you're in the middle of it right now, but you will. Yeah. I feel so good and so blessed to be on this side of it.
Yes.
I just am thrilled to be on this side of it.
Yeah, no, and I remember watching the change with you, and I was like, oh my God, you feel so great.
Well, what's so funny, everybody, is that it's not funny, but on the third or fourth day before my second surgery, you said to me, I think there's something the matter, because you were working on me. You were actually working on me. You worked on me before. Every day you were working on me, and you said, I think there's something the matter. I'm not sure if it's an infection, but there's something the matter, Kellee. And at that point, I had such an emotional situation with Mavis passing. I couldn't even think about myself at that moment. All I could think about was, the sadness and the grief of all of that I felt, let alone my physical body. And you're the one that said, I think there's a problem.
Something's off here.
Something is off here. And then I think wasn't it Renee, our producer, who is a podiatrist, who said, he said, let me see the pictures. And you had sent me the pictures, and they were just,
they're scared.
It was like a horror movie. Like, honestly, somebody made this up. And I sent it to Renee, and didn't he call you and say, get into a hospital now?
Yes.
You have an infection?
I went to the hospital the next morning.
Yeah.
That was the next morning.
I mean, how we all tag teamed and helped each other.
Yes,
was just amazing. And so how do healers do that? I mean, I guess we have a community, to help one another.
We have a community, and that's the thing too. It's the love heals piece, because it's the compassion, it's the empathy, it's the care. Yeah. It's us talking, Renee calling me, and me helping you, and then when you are done, then you are helping me. I mean, we need each other. We do not heal alone. No. I think most of us here know this, but we grow so much more together, and this is another lesson, right?
It's another of the layer of it. Yes, it's another
of the layers. Yeah. I mean, for me, I had so many of my triathlon friends coming and visiting me and bringing games, or people like, oh, I don't know, you're vegan, I found this, can you eat this? And they're like, I read the ingredients for 20 minutes, and it's so sweet, that they're so
sweet.
So love heals, and I know in the world these days, it's been a hard year It's
I would say this about December. If you get time to rest, please rest, everybody, because I think January is going to be more of a doozy. And so is December. We're not out of it yet.
But I did
rest
like
when
that you
can.
said we have like 4 calm days coming up, because
like
you never say
4.
this.
Yeah, I never say this, but like 3 or 4, but then we have the Skandanta situation, and then we have, then listen, it's like a roller coaster. And I think that we, as healers, as the work that we do, we have a responsibility for ourselves to take care of ourselves, and then elevate others too as they go through things like this. And I think everybody can relate to helping others. Terry Picardo writes, she said, I just went through 2 major surgeries in 12 weeks. Well, we can relate to that. She said the first one was emergency surgery, and I was sepsis. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. That happened to me. Anyhow, for me, she says, I think the general anesthesia, maybe not myself. Let's speak about that for a few weeks. And of course, the healing was hard. If I hadn't had all the good energy sent my way, I'm not sure what would have happened, basically. So let's talk about that with anesthesia, because you had 13 rounds of it. I had 3 rounds of it. You had 13.
Yeah. Well, for me, I would do a lot of energy work before. So I actually did a lot of research on surgery. So that's an interesting thing. So when I was graduating at the Barbara Brennan School, I did research on energy healing and surgery, where I would go into the operating room with people being operated on. And then I had a control group. So I had a very good, experience. And I've worked with many patients, clients through surgery. So I would play mantras on my phone. I would chant mantras. There's this mantra called the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra. It's a healing mantra. I can send you the name afterwards, and we can post it also. It's very powerful. I would play it next to me the entire time before the surgery. Sometimes my partner would put her hands on my feet and send good energy and healing with intention. She's not a healer, but she's sending love, and when I would go into the operating room, the anesthesiologist, who I know so well at that point, they would say, okay, are you ready to go? And I would envision my whole body with certain energy patterns and certain energy vibrations. And I would chant my mantra, and I would bring my thought to a specific place. So I would try to remedy it, but even then, it really destroys your energy field. It depletes it in such a level that I still feel that I'm not by myself, not myself again, after 13 rounds of it.
What can you do to help get rid of the anesthesia? Doesn't it go into your liver?
It goes into the liver, and it goes into the kidneys. It goes into a lot of places. So I would say, the main thing that I see is seeing a healer, because a healer can go, and I work with clients that are going through surgeries. I usually like to work before, during, and after the surgery, but I clear everything. And then people are like, brand new afterwards. It's the main thing. I mean, it's very hard for the body to cleanse itself. You can intend it, you can use certain energies, but it's something that I haven't found anything to be as efficient on your own, doing by yourself. But anytime you're going into surgery or after surgery, eat healthy. Don't drink, don't smoke, try not to eat animal products, try to eat clean, healthy, nourishing things, and afterwards too.
And the other thing is, you have to have a positive attitude about it, because unfortunately I had a client pass away last week, and I was just so devastated about it. She went in for open heart surgery, and she called me right before, and she said, I'm not going to make it. And I said, it's hard to argue with that. Yes, you are. But I knew that she knew it. Some people know that.
Yes.
And I think you have to, if you want to live, you have to have that will to live, and you have to have that strength about that you're going to get through this. You get through it, and then you come out of it. And it's a positive attitude is everything.
It's everything. I mean, there were days that I was feeling really sad in going into surgery, either because I was alone, nobody had come to be with me, and I was, it was hard. It's just hard, sometimes it's just difficult. But I made sure, even though I was sad, I made sure to get into the operating room. I said good morning or good evening or good night to everybody. I joked around with people. I had positive thoughts as I went into the anesthesia. And I have to say, when I was working, doing the research, one thing that I saw a lot, it was when the patient was open, when they were more spiritually connected, they would have kind of like a meeting with their guide throughout the entire surgery. Like their body, Kellee, would be going through surgery, and I was there working on the lines of lights, so they wouldn't have pain afterwards, blah, 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 blah. And they were off to the side somewhere.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the guides are there. They're having a chat with their guides.
They're like all of this stuff. So another reason to work on ourselves, because the people that were very, very, very closed off, they didn't get that. Yeah. Not because they didn't deserve it, but because their vibration couldn't be raised. It wasn't high enough to get to that place. So we can only benefit from all of this work.
So maybe what you're doing is teaching others how to go into surgery even.
Maybe that's true. That is.
I mean, surgery is a needed, necessary.
It's a necessary thing. I mean, I've had, ligament transplants. I've had many things.
You're only 44.
I know. I've had an active life.
Wait, this is pretty funny. Kim Ann says, Prajna, when this is over, you can say you are putting your best foot forward.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this. Yes.
Dorothy Eastman
have one foot to put forward.
Oh my God. Dorothy Eastman says you are both absolutely amazing. Thank you for being such wonderful healing role models for us. Oh, bless you. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for saying that.
Renee Hounsel. Hi, Renee. She says the space you both guide others from now is direct experience and understanding. So true. She said your light will reach deeper into others because you were reminded of how to practice what you know healing is. Healers healing. It's true.
That's very true. We all need reminders. And, when we truly commit to growing, we got to turn ourselves over to the divine.
Oh, is that true?
Right?
Yeah.
And guys, this means anything goes. Yeah. I truly, turn your lives over. Why else are we on this planet? That's how I feel. Why else are we here? Sure, we can go. I love going to concerts, to plays. I love doing lifey things. But why else? That's not why I'm here. Right? That's not why you're here, Kellee. And I'm sure a lot of us that are here on this call, that's not why we're here. So it's time to deepen into this commitment and say, I want to know why my soul is here, or beyond the why, I want to follow. I give my life to you and guide me.
And I'll tell you how it can start with passion. Whatever you have passion towards, passion opens the door for everything. Passion, and then you'll experience joy. Once you get the passion, you experience joy.
Yes.
And then from there you have no expectations, which even opens it more.
Oh, it's like magic. Things just flow.
Things just flow. And in fact, there's synchronicity at that point.
Yeah, they align.
Yeah. And then your vibration raises, and we should do a show on that.
Speaking
of shows, we still have a third session left, everybody.
Yes,
for
we do.
And Atlanta.
We are coming back.
We are, and it's the end of January, I believe. It's the Saturday, 26th of January of 2023. And I am sorry we had to postpone it. First, I thought we had to postpone it for me, and then it turned out we had to postpone it for you.
More for me at this point.
Oh my gosh! So thank you, everybody, so much for understanding.
Yes, and even if you didn't understand, I hope now you do. I mean, our hearts are so much in being here with all of you as much as we can at all times.
Absolutely. And when we go back for the third, we're going to do, a summary of the first and the second. Yes. So it'll still be amazing. And
yes, of course.
I'm so glad that you are on.
It will be perfectly timed.
Yes.
If we turn it to the divine, that will be perfectly timed too. Maybe that's the alignment that's going to be happening where we needed to meet. So it is.
I love that. I love that. You're right. It's not wrong.
No, it's perfect.
Perfectly aligned there.
Perfectly timed with everything. So
that's good. Well, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
everybody join me and James on Monday night, because we have a special show, and I'll tell you what that's on. It's letting go of old patterns and behaviors. So join us for that. And then 2 weeks from Monday, James and I are going to be doing predictions for 2023.
Ooh, that would be a good one.
It'll be a good one. So thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Take care.
You.
You've been listening to Ask Me Anything, featuring spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.